The battlefield was chaos. Ronan's breath came heavy and rapid, his body scarred and battered, but his eyes remained sharp. All around him, soldiers screamed as fire and steel consumed the war front. The stench of blood and smoke clung to the air. The sky was blackened, and the soil beneath his boots was drenched in crimson. It was not a battlefield anymore, it was a graveyard. Among the ruins, one figure towered above all others. A giant. Its monstrous frame cast a shadow over the wreckage, its massive body like a mountain of flesh and muscle. The beast's eyes glowed with a cruel light as it fixed his gaze on Ronan. The giant grinned, its voice a deep rumble that shook the air, mocking him with words that cut deeper than any blade. It taunted him, asking why he still fought, why he clung to life when everything was already lost. Did he not see that resistance was meaningless? Did he not realize his struggle was already decided? Ronan did not flinch. His chest rose and fell, his hand trembling slightly from the countless wounds across his body, but his spirit did not break. He stood tall, refusing to bow. His hand gripped his sword tighter, blood sliding down the hilt, his resolve unshaken. If he had only one breath left in him, he would use it to fight. The giant's laughter echoed across the battlefield, mocking and cruel. It was the laugh of a predator certain of victory. The earth trembled as the monster raised its weapon, a tree-sized club of stone and iron. The ground cracked beneath its steps as it moved closer, towering over the battered swordsman. Ronan's body trembled, his knees threatening to give way, but his spirit blazed brighter than ever. With a roar that tore through his burning lungs, he charged forward. Steel clashed against flesh. Sparks scattered like fireflies as his blade met the thick hide of the giant. Each swing of its weapon shook the ground, craters forming wherever it struck. Soldiers in the distance cowered as the battlefield shook under their clash. The giant's voice thundered even as they fought. It spoke of futility, a mankind's weakness. "You are insects," it growled, gnats buzzing before a storm. "No matter how sharp your blade, no matter how many times you resist, you are doomed." Its words were heavy, filled with the arrogance of a predator that had never known defeat. Ronan spat back with defiance, his voice filled with rage and determination. "Shut your mouth," he growled, his eyes blazing. He refused to let despair control him. He would not surrender his pride to a monster. Blow after blow, he pushed forward, his sword flashing in arcs of silver light, each strike carving deeper, each movement fueled by rage and desperation. His body screamed with pain, but his will forced him onward. The battle was fierce, brutal, and unforgiving. The giant swung again, the wind from its strike enough to throw men off their feet, but Ronan slipped through its defenses. His blade tore through muscle, splattering blood across the ground. The beast roared in pain, shaking the air like thunder. Still, Ronan pressed on, his focus unbroken. Step by step, slash by slash, he drove it back. At last, the moment came. Ronan saw the opening, the single chance carved by his reckless resolve. He roared, every ounce of strength in his battered body pouring into one final strike. His sword flashed, driving deep into the giant's flesh, piercing the core of its strength. The beast's roar shook the battlefield one last time as its massive frame collapsed, shaking the earth as it fell. Dust and smoke filled the air. The ground trembled as the impossible happened. The giant, the monster that had mocked humanity, lay dead. The battlefield went silent for a moment, soldiers frozen in awe. One man had brought it down. But victory came at a terrible cost. Ronan staggered, his arms trembling, blood pouring from countless wounds. His body was torn apart, his strength spent. His legs barely held him upright, and each breath was agony. The sword in his hand felt impossibly heavy. And yet, his eyes never wavered. He had slain the giant. Even if this was his last act, it was enough. In that moment, as his body swayed, memory surged within him. The battlefield faded, and he was drawn into the past. He remembered the army camp. The long nights filled with laughter and conversation. The smell of food cooked over a fire, simple yet comforting. The clatter of practice swords striking against each other as comrades sparred in the training grounds. Faces came to him, comrades he had trusted, brothers in arms who had shared those fleeting days of peace. Some were gone now, their lives claimed by war. Others had betrayed him, their loyalty lost. But in this vision, he remembered the warmth of those moments, the rare times when life seemed almost ordinary. The memories washed over him like waves, heavy with both comfort and sorrow. They reminded him of why he fought, and of everything he had lost. The vision ended. Reality returned, cruel and unrelenting. Ronan was back on the ruined battlefield, his body teetering on the edge of collapse. His breath came shallow, his vision blurred, and the strength in his arms drained away. Yet he forced himself to stay standing, his sword still in his hand, even as his blood dripped steadily to the earth. And then, through the smoke and dust, a figure emerged. The army general. A woman. Her steps were slow but deliberate. Her body was battered, her uniform torn and drenched in blood. One of her arms hung twisted and nearly severed, swaying lifelessly at her side. Her face was pale, but her eyes burnt with fury and sorrow, the eyes of a leader who had seen too many battles, too many deaths. She was a survivor, but also a warrior, broken by the weight she carried. Her presence was commanding, even in her broken state. Each step toward Ronan was heavy with pain, but also with resolve. She had witnessed the fall of armies, the deaths of countless soldiers, and still, she stood. A scarred reminder of war's cruelty. Ronan's body finally began to give way. His knees trembled, his strength fading fast. The battlefield around them had grown eerily quiet. The giant was dead. His memory still lingered, the weight of the past pressing down on him. And before him stood the general, her one arm ruined, her presence as haunting as the battlefield itself. The first chapter ended with silence, blood, and the heavy shadow of what was to come.